Hey guys, welcome back to Tiffany's TVscape. I'm here with a special guest today, Alejandro Vilpa, who is the creator of Vilpa Films, and he just launched a new streaming platform called Vilpa Max. Alejandro, thanks for joining me. How's it going?
Thank you. Thanks for the space. It's great and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. So, of course, I want to talk about your new streaming platform because that's a big deal. So congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you. I'm excited actually.
Yeah, I know. I would be excited too if I was you. But before we get into that, I really wanted you to talk about kind of the origins of your career. How you got into filmmaking and, just some of the things you did early on in your career.
Sure. So first I started as a writer. I actually started writing 14 years old, novels. And I started as a novelist, as a thriller novel writer. I have three books in the market. Basically, the reason why I started writing is because I wanted to go into the film industry and I didn't have the means to do it at that time. So my creativity just found its way into books, right? And after I published my first book, I went to the Cannes Film Festival through a young artist program, and then from there, I mean, basically, I just felt that like my own call to get into the film industry, and I became a scriptwriter and eventually a producer and a director. That's why we are here right now, right?
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I didn't know that you started out as a writer.
Yes. I used to write. Well, I'm still writing, but I have three thrillers in the market. My second book, it's like the most, let's say, remarkable piece of work from me, and it's called The Breath of the Innocents in English. It's in English, French, and Spanish.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. So, would
Thank
you
you.
say writing is your first love?
Yes, and I think it's also my strength. When I started, making films, I realized that most of a good film is a good narrative, right? You have to have a strong narrative and then dress it with a great cinematography. So yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And so, what would you say are some of your early influences? Any films or any artists or anything that you feel like really made you the creative that you are today?
Yeah, I think so. For books, for example, my main influence was a writer called Juan Rulfo. He used to be a Mexican writer. He's very famous in Mexico and in the world in general. And I also had reference Christopher Nolan. I love Memento, and I would say Memento is this film that really um, changed my way to write and to tell narratives.
Yeah. Have you ever met him?
Not yet, not
Not yet.
yet. Maybe one day.
Not maybe. You will put it out in the
Yes,
universe.
exactly. No, exactly.
You will.
Exactly. We're
You'll even
manifesting.
work with him.
I would love to work with him. I would love to have a coffee with him. I think that
Right.
he has like very interesting mind,
Mhm.
to be curious about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, so with Vilpa Films, which is your production company, what was the original mission behind starting that?
So, Vilpa Films was born actually in one of the Cannes Film Festivals that I went to, and it was born, I would say, from my own experience. I was working at that time with a very two very big production companies based in the UK. One of them is the US branch of the producers of James Bond. And I was learning from them so much, and I was just, looking at other artists close to me, and we were all struggling. And then when I first made my film, I made a film last year called The Undertone of David Jansen. We were trying to solve the question on what's next. How are we going to succeed? Are we going to festival circuit? What are we gonna do? And then I realized that it doesn't matter sometimes when films they win the Oscars or they win Cannes Film Festival. Sometimes even then they don't transcend.
Hmm.
And then I was thinking, well, then what's the perspective for us? Right? So it
Right.
was like, let's just build this solution. Let's just build this space in the industry and that's how Vilpa Films was born.
Yeah, that's cool. And then so I did want to ask you too about being a producer because I feel like a lot of times most people know what a director does. Most people know about, what the actor does, but I don't think when people say I'm a producer, they're kind of like, what is that? So
Exactly.
if you, yeah, so if you could talk about, I think it just sounds kind of vague, right? You're like, I'm a producer, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, what is that, right? So if you could talk a little bit about what you actually do as a producer, like what goes into the job of a producer.
Sure. It actually sounds posh, right? When you say I'm a producer, it seems like you already know what to do, but sometimes producers, we have to figure out as well, right? So I would say I became a producer not because I wanted to be a producer, but because at some point I mean, of course I like it, but when I made my film, that made me a producer. A producer is this person that is in charge of basically making the film happen. Making the film happen in any area that you can find, right? If I have a script, then the producer will be the one, coordinating probably the location scouting, coordinating the fonts, you know, the font pitching
Hmm.
sometimes, or the font splitting, like all those things the producer makes, right? So it's very important in the crew to have a director, a producer, and a writer that can be aligned to the vision of the whole film. And sometimes, when you make your own film, you become the producer of that film too.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what I did for my film. That's why I became a producer.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So do you feel like because you started off as a writer, is it kind of challenging for you to kind of balance being a creative person and then also having to kind of be a producer, which sounds a little bit more business
Yeah,
strategic?
yeah, I would say it's a very, very big challenge. To be honest, even being a director was a challenge for me. I was a first time director and, of course, a first time producer at that time. And when you're creative, you just get inspired by everything, and you can just, if you have time, you just fill that time with making art. But then having to be so logical, so cold in terms of numbers and all that,
Hmm.
at some point it was a little bit frustrating for me that I didn't have enough time
Yeah.
to go on with my scripts and my books. So I mean, I had to be creative and find that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. So let's talk about the big news called Vilpa Max. That's
Yes,
exciting. So
super
what
exciting.
was, yeah, like what was the thought behind that? How did you even come up with I'm gonna do a streaming platform?
Well, it's very exciting. At some point, I was, of course, panicking, but right now I'm very, very, very in a good place. How this? So with Vilpa Films, I would say that Vilpa Films was born of this goal and mission of creating opportunities for new filmmakers. Whenever in my journey as an artist, I have an opportunity for myself, and if I can bring other artists, I do. Right, that's something that I try to do, and I think we should all have in our mindsets to keep developing art, not only my
Mhm,
art, but understanding that there's other artists over there, right?
mhm,
And Vilpa Max um, was actually born of the outcome of these film festivals, because most of the short films, they don't have an outcome after that. They don't have a
mhm,
transcendence to be looking at. So what are we going to be nurtured by, right, as artists? And then I was thinking, this is a gap. I used everything I learned from the producers that I actually respect and that I've learned from.
mhm.
um, and then I created a space where we can have Oscar winning films, Cannes winning films, but also emerging voices that have as enough quality as these other films. So making, a safe space for everybody to be showcased.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
love
that's
that.
Vilpa Max. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, and I definitely understand what you're saying in terms of, like, all of these short films, and they're just it's like there's nowhere for it to go, because even me on the other side of it, just being, like, press, like, I get access to all these types of short films, and I'm like, "These are amazing," and, like, the general
Yeah.
public is not seeing this. Most people are not seeing these films, so I definitely think, like you said, there's been this gap for so long, and now that you have this platform, hopefully that'll be an outlet for a lot of, especially up and coming creators.
Hopefully, hopefully, I think it's already given fruition, given to fruition, because there are we already have our first generation of emerging voices. It was very interesting to see how these, to scout for these films at some point, right, and to pitch them what we were trying to do. And they right now are very, very excited. I think so far the public in general, they have been loving the mindset and the concept behind all this, and they are supporting. So yeah, this opens the doors. Our vision with this is to be the milestone for many artists to kickstart their career, right? Something that most of the times they cannot make it just outside. There's
Yeah.
It's very difficult to make it outside that way.
Yeah, for sure. And then so I know the streaming platform is available in the UK. I believe I read North Africa, and then where else?
And in the Middle East, MENA
Okay.
and the UK. We're
Okay.
starting there, but of course we have plans to move to other territories.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Kind of what was the, I guess, the strategy or the idea behind starting there first?
Well, the company is set up in Dubai, so I mean, it made a little bit of sense to start a little bit in that market. I also was thinking another very potential market for the film industry is London, right? It's the UK.
Mhm.
So at some point, it also made sense to start, nurturing that big market. And while we understand other markets, I think the US market is definitely in our list and probably will go next. But I think it's a market that we all streaming platforms we have to respect, because it's because of the features that it has, right? You have to understand them first before actually giving them a product. And I would say the US market globally could be one of those markets that validate finally right, the product, right,
Right.
given that if you just enter to the market and you have nothing, then the US market will tell you, you know what, never come here ever again,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah.
So I'm waiting a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. That makes total sense though. Yeah, you're right. And also
Yeah,
Holly Shorts is in Dubai and in London. So
yeah,
that
and also in
yeah,
the
that makes
US.
yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes total sense. So I'm sure like, creating a streaming platform has been a lot of hard work. What would you say is maybe the top challenge that you had to overcome to get this to work?
Well, of course, there have been many challenges. I would say the main challenge at some point was, of course, the creating of the platform, because you have to. So to create a streaming platform is also to create and to prove that you can have intellectual property safe. Right? It's also like a safe space for them. So you have to
Mhm.
give them that to protect their interests and to protect their intellectual property. So you have to build something cool. And by developing that, we have been working for 6 months, I believe, now, and we're still improving this. But to reach that point on, okay, now we can, launch this to the market. Now it's great for filmmakers and also for the audience. That was a big challenge.
Mhm.
And of course, to close so many deals in the very beginning, like especially the Oscar winning films, that you have to at some point pitch them who you are really, in order for them to believe you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then so if anybody comes across this and they're like, "Hey, I want my film on Vilpa Max," what is the process of that? Is it that you're going out and scouting, or can someone come to you and say, "Hey, I want my film on your platform"?
Both will happen. We are actually, one of the first things that I like about this is we are on an open call to everybody. If they reach us through our email, which is business@vilpafilms.com, they can send their films and we will review it, and we always reply. Most of our films from the catalog have come from there, right?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Yes, of course. We also represent a couple of them in festivals, because we believe in the normal life cycle of a film,
Mhm.
and sometimes that means waiting for the film to finish the festivals and then go to the platform. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that it's a two-way street there.
Yes, of course. I mean, at some point we also wanted kind of to remove those boundaries, right? Those to create the bridge. We think that it's, filmmaking is about community, and it's about helping to each other at some point. That's how you finish a film. The only reason why you finish a film is because you rely on some people that are better than you in some other areas, and they align to your vision, and then that's how you make a film. Therefore, we're there not to, for example, we're there not to be against any other platform. I think that each platform they have their souls, and they have their breaches that they create. We just found this space that needed another bridge to create, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so with indie filmmaking, I always wonder, I guess, when or if it becomes mainstream, what's that gonna look like in the future? And so
Yeah.
I'm curious what your take is on that. Like, if it does blow up and become kind of the main thing that people are looking at, how would you want it to be handled, both for creators and for people like you who are kind of behind the scenes?
I think that having that level of exposure, with thanks God, in press releases, it has happened already a little bit. But to have that exposure, I think everybody has to act with responsibility, right? And if we created this in order to create opportunities for artists, we will be working to that goal till the end, right? Meaning that even if it's mainstream, or if we get maybe famous titles or things like that, at some point this is more of an anchor for other artists to come to the catalog. So we will be supporting indie filmmakers every time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
love that.
yeah, and at some point it's also very fun, right? Because what if one of these filmmakers, they become the next Steven Spielberg, right? We don't know, and it would be
Hmm.
very cool to see how they started their career in Vilpa Max, and then just grow as they can,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, and that would be great credibility for you because then you say, "Oh
Yes,
yeah, they were on my platform in the
I
beginning."
developed that one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you'll
and,
be like,
and
"Yeah, I
hopefully
need
and
to make
hopefully
that."
they will be hopefully they will be happy to keep working with us, right?
Yeah,
Even
right.
when they are there. Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess you did kind of answer this question already, but I guess for the future, what are you hoping the impact of Vilpa Films and Vilpa Max is?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we are working towards very a lot of projects right now. I would say some of my vision is to have our Vilpa Max originals, to keep developing talent, and to be the first milestone for independent filmmakers or emerging voices to become the voices that we know that they can. Right. This is
Yeah.
part of it. This is part of this bridge.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. And I definitely see that happening for you for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I mean, we're working very hard to make it
Mhm.
happen. And at some point, I mean, that's the same. Let's say that it's my goal as a person, and I'm just like, projecting that goal. And this is how this projection looks like, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then last couple of questions before we wrap up. I love to ask other creatives, like, what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out or trying to find their way in filmmaking? What is some good advice you feel like?
That's a good question. I would say I would advise to learn fast. To learn fast, really, I think the first lesson that I learned in the industry is this industry is you have to think years in advance, right? In advance, so it's not something very quick. Sometimes you have to learn years in advance, and I think if you just keep having your vision towards years in advance, you will get there.
Absolutely. I love that. And then lastly, where can people find you on social media and how do people get to Vilpa Max?
Sure. So far they can find me and find Vilpa Films and Vilpa Max in all socials as Alejandro Vilpa, as Vilpa Films and Vilpa Max, and they can also visit us at the website app vilpamax.com, and in a couple of days, the iOS app will be up and running. So we're
Nice.
yeah we're gonna from here we're gonna keep developing other means for them to reach us, like Android TV. So just stay tuned, please, and we'll be there.
That's awesome. I love that. That's really
thank
cool. Wow.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Thank you. Yes, hopefully, very soon we also will get into other territories. Like I would say, so far, like things are having, are are moving forward. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's a good feeling for now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time, and it's great to be here. Thank you.